Hi everyone, Metaphysical, I'm back. I'm going to finish reading, I'm going to continue doing some reading from the book Atlantis, A Tale of the Earth, in case you didn't catch the title on the video. And we're starting at Prolog 2, so I'm just going to get right in. So the king and Merlin departed, and Arthur said, I have no sword. No force, said Merlin. Hereby is a sword that shall be yours. On the bosom of the Great Mother, the mystical pair stand ready to receive. The two, the twins, the opposites, one light, the other dark, one following a straight path, one following a darker, more tortuous path. No matter, the goal is the same. The destination is the same. For they shall walk through the ages along the Grail path, at the end of which lies the lapis exilis, the precious stone, the holy grail, gradually developing the inner life of the soul, step by step, degree by degree, romancing the grail, beginning in dullness, akin to sleep, walking through doubt and fear, arriving at a single point in time, at the moment of spiritual awakening, when the third eye opens to a marvelous and glorious vision. Behold, the hidden secrets of the universe are revealed, and the meaning of human destiny. From out of the swirling mists they appear, the spear and the sword. The twins reach out. The gifts are given. The gifts are received. The twins part, going their separate ways for now, each to meet again, many times, many times, many times. Is this not twin flame? This is going to take us right into the whole meat and nuts and everything of it. So next is cause. Earth, air, metal, fire, water. Chapter 1. I have woken from the sleep of ages, and I am not sure if I am really seeing, or dreaming, or simply astonished, walking towards sunrise, to have stumbled into the garden where the stone was rolled from the tomb of longing. That's by David White, Easter morning in Wales. So now into chapter 1. It is the in-between time. Night has not quite passed, and the new day has not yet been born. As I come to sit on the sacred rock at the edge of the sea to watch the sunrise, a single point of light glows in the eastern sky, that wanderer known to all as the morning star. The morning music is sweet upon my ears, the rhythmic splashing and crashing of the waves, the cries of the gulls, the deep, full-throated song of the osprey, and beneath it all, the sound of my own heart beating in time with the steady pulse of life at the edge of the sea. I listen to the carrying of the gulls as they feast on clams and mussels and seaweed. Far overhead, soaring majestically on the wind, an osprey searches for a fish to bring back to her nest. Brown pelicans float gently on the waves, now and then dipping their heads beneath the surface to swallow a fish, and the sandpipers dart back and forth between the ebb and flow of the waves and their ceaseless efforts to grab a morsel of food without getting their feet wet. The beach is alive, pulsing with life, and I alone am present to witness it. There is not another soul to join me on this glorious morning, not like before, when the birth of a new day would be celebrated by the whole community. No, those days are gone, as are the lighthouse and the dragon path, and the mound on the hillside, and the great city itself. Gone, too, are the beautiful men and women and children who lived there, with their long auburn hair, and their dark, smooth skin, and their deep, wide smiles, who drew their life from this great watery world. All gone, with the crashing of the waves and the shifting of the sand, and the ebb and the flow of the tides, and the ever-changing ways of the world. The sky is ablaze with color and motion, a wheel of color turning before me from deep blue to pink and orange and gold, like an artist's palette run riot. The water has an almost silky look and texture, sparkling and shimmering like the crystal blue iris of a planet-sized eye reflecting an image of heaven back up to itself for its own admiration. The ever-present thunderheads, far out to sea, take on a luminescent glow, silhouetted against a backdrop of blues and pinks and oranges and golds, and outlined in the border of color so vivid that it can only be experienced, not described. As I gaze to the east, the sky glows redder and redder, as if a giant furnace were being stoked just out of sight below the horizon. My heart beats a bit faster in anticipation. Even though I've seen the sunrise every day of my life, and I'm now so very old, the excitement never fades. I try to guess the exact moment it's coming back, but try as I might, I never can. So I focus all my senses at the point that glows reddest, draw in my breath, and simply wait. A sound fills my ears, first just a whisper, then building to a mighty roar. Is it the wind and the waves, or is it coming from somewhere inside myself? And do I hear a voice in that sound? I can never tell, and I've stopped trying to answer such foolish questions. Better to give myself fully to the experience and enjoy the mystery. What I can never explain, but can always experience. The mystery of the birth of a new day. Isn't that really beautiful? Hi, beautiful. Hi, butterfly kisses. Oh, I'm happy to see you. Happy New Year. Oh, thank you. You too. I'm just reading a little story here. I'm so happy to see you. Have a really happy, safe, healthy New Year. Aw. The creatures with whom I am sharing the beach sense, too, that the moment is at hand. All is silent now, an instant of timelessness, hushed and still. A snatch of a poem from the book of life flickers across my memory. All living hearts are tranquil, with a stir of deep anticipation, for the time of everlasting things is now at hand. I hold my breath and draw myself fully erect, and suddenly a brilliant green flash bursts up out of the water, followed instantly by the glowing pink crescent of the newborn sun. How huge it is, how beautiful, how swiftly now it climbs out of the water. The birds resume their feeding. The surf continues to flow in and out. The pulse of the mother continues to beat, and life continues undisturbed. And as the sun rises, a full circle now, suspended just above the horizon, I gaze steadily eastward into its brilliant red-orange face, as time begins to spiral inward upon itself, and I am transported into that fiery center, where all of the trappings of society and the thin veneer of civilization slip away. The years and memories spin backward, past recorded history, past the destruction and the great flooding, past the time of tribulation. And I remember Atlantis. Happy New Year. Oh, cool. Thank you, butterfly kisses. Happy, happy, healthy, safe New Year. Let me get that in there for everybody. Hmm. getting back to reading. Sorry, people, I'm not good at typing and reading and videoing all at the same time. Sorry. Okay, back into the story. And I remember Atlantis. Atlantis, my former home, the land of my ancestors, and yours, that magical, mystical kingdom at the edge of the sea, where the first humans, the first ones like yourselves, lived for so long in peace, harmony, and tranquility. At the height of their civilization, they had mastered the world, wealth beyond measure, knowledge beyond measure, beauty beyond measure, power beyond measure. Yet neither their vast stores of gold nor their glorious civilization could save the Atlanteans from their own hubristic egos. They lost control, forgetting the ancient truths, succumbing to the temptations of rampant technology and the pleasures of a material world. Sounds familiar. Thus it was, that the time of tribulation began, and their entire civilization collapsed in a cataclysm that was as swift as it was terrible. In just a single day and night, it was all gone, vanishing beneath the cold and gloomy depths of the ocean of Atlas, leaving not a trace behind. But that is the end of the story, not the beginning. I want to tell you the good things first, the wonderful things about Atlantis, how they created the most magnificent civilization ever to grace the face of the great Mother Earth, a vast and mighty empire that endured for thousands of years and touched every corner of the globe, from its highest mountains to its deepest caverns, from the ocean depths to the vastness of outer space. Atlantis, where we knew dragons and wizards, and conversed with animals and the elements and all manner of spirits, where we moved enormous blocks of stone to build pyramids and monuments and scientific instruments and temples, where we attuned our lives to the rhythms and cycles of the seasons, where we flew effortlessly and almost instantaneously along the straight paths through the sky and under the sea and deep inside the air, and even into outer space, and where we harnessed the power of lightning and the forces of nature. Would you like to hear the story of Atlantis? The true story of what really happened? I would like to tell it to you. In fact, I must tell it to you. At this time of impending disaster, coupled with tremendous opportunity, as a warning and a gift for your world, to inspire, not fear, but hope. I approach the telling of this tale with mixed feelings. First, there is great joy in telling, coupled with a sense of relief at being able to speak my truth at last. I've waited a long time to tell this story, but you were not ready to receive it until only a moment ago. But I have been preparing its telling for, I don't know how long, and now that the moment has arrived, it has brought other emotions, like sorrow, as I relive the memories of that doomed civilization, and pathos, as I experience once again all of the feelings that the Atlanteans felt, the fear, panic, frustration, and helplessness of those who chose to follow the truth, but were ultimately powerless as the natural course of events swept over them. And most of all, I remember the astonishment of those in power, that a disaster of such magnitude could be happening to them. For they were, after all, Atlanteans, the proud, the mighty, the invincible. Finally, I'm feeling fear of what might be if you do not listen to my tale and hearken to the lesson of the Atlanteans, who had developed a highly advanced civilization that was technologically not so very different from your industrialized world of today. So many similarities between a civilization that existed so long ago and your civilization, between antediluvian Atlantis and modern 20th century society. So many similarities, yet so many differences. For you to see that world, Atlantis, for all of its high science and technology, was a global society breaking apart and sinking beneath the waves of fear, egocentrism, and outer-directed thinking into the darkness of the spell of matter. Hold up, I gotta light my blunt. Wow, so good. And what was this spell? Quite simply, a falling from awareness of the interconnectedness of all things in their mad, unnatural dash for power, status, and wealth, and an arrogance that what they're doing, and an arrogance that what they were doing was perfectly natural, their divine right as the superior beings on the planet, and indeed in the whole universe. Such hubris did not go unpunished. Could you have heard my tale even a few short years ago, you descendants of the ancients? You whose entire culture is based on the upside-down, fearful, illusionary world first spawned so long ago in Atlantis? Right, like an upside-down snow globe. Which way is north and which way is south? Oh boy. A big flipper. True north is in the center. Anyhow. But it was flipped a long time ago. This is out of the book, but a long time ago in the ancient maps, south is up. It's the other way around. The map was flipped. Excuse me. I think not, for you would not have listened, and even if you had, you would not have understood, for you were too caught up in the spell of building cities and establishing kingdoms, and enslaving your brothers and sisters, and lining your coffers with gold. But all of that is changing now. You are beginning to awaken, beginning to return to an understanding of a more natural state of existence, one based on harmony and cooperation rather than competition, plenty and abundance rather than scarcity, love rather than fear. Your world, with its focus on science and technology for so long a fragmented society, is starting to come back together out of separateness and rise into the light of spirit, breaking the spell and becoming a global village once again. Yes, I know all about this. I know, for I was there. I witnessed it all, and I have been charged with telling this tale, waiting only until the time was right. And now, the time is right. So come with me on a journey back into the dimmest recesses of your own minds. You remember, don't you? You hold the memory of the ancients in your hearts. Excuse me, guys. It's not just because I rolled a blunt. Oh. Once upon a planet, when the world was fresh and new, a great civilization lay spread out across the globe. It is gone now, leaving no trace of its former glory, and it was glorious. This is that civilization's story. This is the tale of Atlantis. What marvels I have to show you. Step up and out with me now. We are not limited by physical laws. Space and distance cannot impede our progress. Time cannot force us to wait for its slow passing. Gravity cannot hold us down. Soar with me far out into the ether, for this is a magical and inviting world with ample room to fly. From far out in space, behold, a beautiful white world lies suspended in inky blackness, floating gently in a velvet sea of peace. From this distance, there are no borders, no divisions, only perfect unity and oneness. From this distance, it appears that all is in harmony, all is well. Moving closer, we begin to discern geographical shapes and patterns, continents, mountains, oceans, islands. This is the body of the Great Mother, the Earth. So much activity, so much creativity, so much life. Great cycles turn and turn. The seasons of the year, the passing of the zodiac, the passage of the moon around the earth around the sun. To everything there is a season and a time to every purpose under heaven. An unnamed philosopher penned those words in Atlantis. And we have remembered them in our most sacred writings ever since. Sounds like a coyote to me, that I remember. Above the earth, the air itself is alive, the breath of the Great Mother. At sea level, her blood courses with life. On the land, her flesh glistens and sparkles. See the ebbing and flowing tides, ocean currents, air currents, bubbling volcanoes, and geological upheavals. Land, air, and water in constant motion, producing giant storms, tornadoes, hurricanes, cyclones, typhoons, blizzards, waterspouts, and gentle rains that nourish the land and sustain all life. Wind, transient and elusive, shifting soil and sand, eroding the red rock. Hear the voice in the whirlwind, carrying messages from the intangible, insubstantial realm of spirit. Water, we're reading about each element. Liquid light, carving out deep canyons in the soft, porous limestone, grinding jagged granite peaks into smooth, rounded hills, reshaping coastlines. See the deluge come, the purifying waters washing away the old order, sanctifying the new one. Fire, generative power of the sun, racing across prairies and through forests, consuming all in its path. Smell the scorched black earth, purified, purged, and made ready for new. Wind, water, fire. These are but a few of the tools of the artist mother, assisting her in her transition from one state to another, carving and sculpting the face of the planet into new shapes, while at the same time, in stark contrast to these fierce bursts of creativity, the mother reveals her softer nature, painting glorious rainbows, sunrises, and sunsets, offering the gifts of light and color to all who would take the time to notice. The continents themselves we see are in constant motion, huge land masses floating on a sea of molten rock, sometimes resting gently, other times crashing into others with enormous force and pressure. With enormous force and pressure. Earthquakes, volcanoes, we watch in awe as the land splits open, releasing gigantic pressurized fountains of steam, water, mud, and lava. Pardon me for a hot second, I need a sip of my tea. Very beautiful so far. I hope you're all enjoying the journey thus far. I love story time. It's nice to be able to just lay down and read. I'll be quiet so you can do such if you're doing that. And listen to a story. Especially one about how we were all created. Okay, back to the book. The continents themselves, we see, are in constant motion. Huge land masses floating on a sea of molten rock. Oh, I already read this, but that's okay. Sometimes resting gently, other times crashing into each other with enormous force and pressure. Earthquakes, volcanoes. We watch in awe as the land splits open, releasing gigantic pressurized fountains of steam, water, mud, and lava. We gasp in astonishment as the Great Mother transforms herself before our very eyes. Behold, a never-ending cycle of creativity and constant motion, constant change. Behold, the round of existence. Entering the atmosphere, we soar over oceans and land masses, looking down on a vast and sunny landscape. As we draw closer, we begin to discern great areas of civilization. The vast Atlantean network that lies spread across the entire surface of the planet. At the bottom of the world, far to the east, we find all that remains of Lemuria, oldest of the provinces. Once a tranquil, isolated land, that is now being torn asunder by the violence of war. For the Lemurians are different, somehow not so much in appearance, but certainly in attitude. Being different in Atlantis was once not only tolerated, but encouraged. Now, however, during the time of tribulation, it is a death sentence, and those in power are intent on punishing the Lemurians and subjugating them to the will of the state. Day after day, month after month, year after year, the Atlanteans rain down fire and death from the sky. Day after day, month after month, year after year, the Lemurians resist and stand fast. South of the equator, in the middle of the Sea of Peace, lies Mu, already beginning to feel the effects of the final breaking up of the land. The province of Mu, nevertheless, is still fair and great. Here, mental pursuits are highly valued. In Mu, they are wise, kind and beautiful queen, is highly favored, bringing the great gifts of education and healing to all of her people. It is rumored that the people of Mu are actually becoming invisible, gradually evolving out of their bodies. So intent are they on mastering the secrets of the human mind and heart. Sounds like ascending light beings. Excuse me. North of the equator, nestled in the fertile crescent of the life-giving river Nile, Alchemia glows like a cool emerald amidst the burning desert sands. You know their monuments today. The pyramids, the Sphinx, although you no longer recollect their purpose. You think they were preoccupied with thoughts of the afterlife and immortality. But it was so much more than that. For it was here, in this province most familiar to you, that the arts of science, astronomy, mathematics, and architecture were honed into perfection. Artistry in stone, form following function. They developed a technology that enabled them to shape and manipulate ponderous blocks of stone, thus affecting the construction of gateways to other worlds and portals to other dimensions. At last, Turtle Island, the largest of the provinces, located in the west and the most favorable position, blessed by harmonious planetary and cosmological influences. A land of such diversity, from black, rugged seaside cliffs to emerald forests, from countless acres of pristine prairie to snow-capped mountains, from gently rolling golden hills to soft white sandy beaches. Such diverse people, too, the natives of Turtle Island, perhaps the most spiritually evolved of the Atlanteans and the most connected to the earth. They know and love the Great Mother and understand her ways far more deeply than any other Atlantean. And the Mother loves them too, blessing them in countless ways, with gentle climate, abundant good health, and prosperity. 10 provinces in all, thousands of communities, each a unique point of light, each connected to the others by a system of aligned tracks that are sometimes discernible along the surface of the earth, other times visible only as shadows or light paths. So extensive were they, so deeply etched were these sacred straight paths into the Atlantean landscape that they are visible even today. If no one knows where to look and what to look for, the straight and narrow paths, the old straight tracks, they are spoken of even now by those who remember, however dimly. I'm supposed to read that again. I'm being guided. So extensive were they, so deeply etched were these sacred straight paths into the Atlantean landscape that they were visible even today. If one knows where to look and what to look for. The straight and narrow paths, the old straight tracks. They are spoken of even now by those who remember, however dimly, these earliest and most extensive of the markings that your early brothers and sisters have scored on the face of the earth. The communities were also connected to each other by a marvelous and highly sophisticated communications system. Amino acid and crystalline structures that pulsed with life. In your world, you would call this computer technology. But you would not even be close to describing what, in truth, this highly spiritualized information network really was. You have no frame of reference. You see, for describing a living system that was so far advanced over your lifeless circuitry that you perceive it not as science, but as magic. As my good friend Kevin always says to me, magic is just misunderstood science. That is very, very well received. And of course, the provinces also were connected to each other by time, honored traditions, and a common heritage and source. Together, they honored the ways of the ancient masters, or simply the ancients, as the founders of Atlantis were lovingly and respectfully called, the ancients. Still circling the globe, still traversing the blue-white planet from a distance of but a few miles. Now we see other areas too, areas of devastation and emptiness, destruction and solitude. You wonder what could have happened. How could a world so beautiful, so ordered, so highly advanced also contain such empty and desolate places? Some of this destruction was caused by massive geological shifts, because the Great Mother is constantly active and ever-changing. But other destruction was human-made, caused by lengthy wars and the power of thermonuclear weaponry that eventually sank and destroyed a highly advanced Atlantean civilization. Do you recognize these dead places? You should, for the power that was unleashed in the final conflagration was of such magnitude that they remain barren and relatively lifeless even today, so many thousands of years later. Of course you know them by name. The Sahara, the Gobi, the Outback. Let us slow down and move closer still, hovering above our final destination, the island of Atlantis, seat of the empire, center of the world, or simply home. Rising up out of the ocean of Atlas, like a precious and sparkling emerald, opposite the mouth of what today is known as the Mediterranean Sea. Atlantis is home to a wide variety of plants and animals, including many that are extinct in your world. Home, too, to other creatures, the Atlantean race. From this altitude, we can see sprawling metropolitan areas, centers of commerce, education, and the arts, interpersed among rolling farmland, forests, and plains. Moving sidewalks, elevators, and electromagnetic sleds carry residents and visitors from place to place. The desiring to travel faster and farther take the way, a global transportation system that harnessed the subtle energy forces of the Earth's electromagnetic field, moving at incredible speeds over the ground, under the sea, and through the atmosphere, and beyond. And most glorious of all, a mighty temple in the center of mighty city, surrounded by a great pyramid, a royal palace, elegant mansions, and lush gardens. For eons, this was paradise. The basic needs for food, clothing, and shelter were taken care of, or rather, they had been until the sons of Belial rose to power. Money as you know it today was non-existent in Atlantis. Luxuries were exchanged via a sophisticated barter system based on love, cooperation, and trust. That's what's up. Equal energy exchange in the present moment. Listen as they converse with each other. Are the words familiar to you? Can you remember speaking them yourselves? It is the language of light, the Solara Maru, the root language for your sacred tongues of Sanskrit and Hebrew. From our vantage point, a few miles above the surface, we see a populous and mighty nation state, overflowing with abundance and wisdom and knowledge. Overflowing, too, with violence and greed and corruption and vice. Here it was where early humankind, your ancestors, dwelt for ages in peace and happiness until the coming of the sons of Belial. Alighting now, we step into the antediluvian world, which you can barely remember, save for fanciful legends of the Garden of Eden, the Elysian Fields, Mount Olympus, and other paradises. This was the home of those whom your collective universal memory depicts as the gods and goddesses of antiquity. In reality, the kings, queens, priests, priestesses, poets, scientists, and artists of Atlantis. Should I read that one more time? The actions and adventures you attribute to them in your myths have become larger than life as you have retold the stories over the millennia. You see your ancestors as separate from yourselves, mightier, nobler, greater in every way. In truth, however, those who came before you were not omnipotent gods and goddesses, but mortals like yourselves, with all of the attendant human passions, aspirations, nobilities, and frailties that you experience today. Your recollection of them is confused because your collective memory suffered such a great shock after the final cataclysm. As you know, some escaped in ships and on rafts. Washing ashore in the provinces, those few survivors, exhausted and tattered and barely coherent, carried with them tidings of the appalling catastrophe, which have survived even into your own time and various flood and deluge legends. The time has come for you to acknowledge the truth, that which you have tried to mythologize. Those whom you have tried to deify are but your confused attempts to recall the real history of your own heritage. We stand at the gateway to Atlantis. Let us step out onto the Atlantean soil, traverse Atlantean ways, speak the Atlantean tongue, share the Atlantean experience. There is nothing to fear. Stand by my side as I guide you. Narrow your focus and perspective. Attune your senses to a particular time and place, to particular events, to particular people. Become willing to entertain new ideas, new possibilities. The path is narrow, right? Welcome to the antediluvian world. Welcome to Atlantis. Welcome home. 42 minutes. Oh, I wish I could pause. I think I'm going to take a break because there's the same guys. This book is huge. Okay, wait, hold on. We got one more page to go. I'm going to continue chapter 1 till the end. In this most marvelous and fabled world, there lived two very wonderful people, a man named Adima and a woman named Sybil. As individuals, male and female, they had risen up out of the duality and joined together for a great and noble purpose. This is their story. The man, Adama, was a being of many skills and talents, a lover and a warrior. His first loves were his family and his art. He was a husband and a father, musician and storyteller, visionary and seer, an eloquent speaker and a truth-sayer. He talked and played with spirits, and they talked and played with him. He was, as his name indicated, a seeker of wisdom. As a warrior, he was strong and athletic, a bold doer of deeds, well-versed in the martial arts, skilled with sword and lance, and bow, and fists and feet. He was a member of the Atlantean Council of Elders, a position of political power and prestige, where he protected and served not only Atlantis, but his family and community as well. And as a man, he had his faults, oftentimes thinking too much in his head, as his wife was fond of saying. Sometimes fear paralyzed him. Sometimes he was reluctant and even unwilling to do his part. His greatest battle was always within his own mind. The woman, Sybil, never having lost touch with the Great Mother, was a woman of many skills and talents, an artist and a creator. She had an open heart and manifested the attributes of unconditional love, innate harmony, compassion, and the healing presence. She had a close understanding of and a relationship with spirit, and talked and played with her inner beloved. She was, as her name indicated, the invisible light that is married to the fire that turns the wheel of creation. At home, she was wife and mother. In the temple of Poseidon, she was counselor, healer, and teacher, serving her Atlantean community and family as priestess, a position of spiritual power and prestige. She was wise, a keeper of knowledge, who gathered the truth, spoke from her heart, and nurtured all who came to her. And like the man, the woman too had her faults, oftentimes choosing to run away and disconnect from the world when life pressed in and overwhelmed her. Instead of being quiet, she often got busy in the outer world, and when circumstances did not go as she wanted or expected them to, she had a tendency to flee instead of turning inward for the answers. I can relate. For a time, this man and this woman lived separate lives, both having their own experiences and doing their own learning according to the plan. When they reached maturity, however, they came together at the appointed time and were married, also according to the plan. Their union was wonderful, and from their joining, the twins were conceived and brought forth, a boy named Alta and a girl named Charis. It is from the time when the twins were 12 years old that this narrative begins, just before dawn, on the first day of the most important celebration of the Atlantean calendar. The family, along with others of the children of the Law of One, had spent the holiday eve outdoors in the pine forest at the easternmost edge of the great island. Oh gosh. To the adults, it was the occasion of the winter solstice. Talk about synchronicity, guys. Oh. Which marked the beginning of the new year and the return of the sun and new life energy. To the children, however, it was simply the Dragon Festival, a time of singing, dancing, parades, storytelling, and magic. I too was there, although my presence probably went unnoticed by most of the people. They had a tendency not to notice me, or to ignore me if they did notice, which was partly my fault because I rarely made an effort to announce my presence, especially in a great crowd. I much preferred to wander quietly and unobtrusively among the throngs, watching, observing, paying attention to the smallest of details as I stepped inside their very thoughts and shared their experiences. Without the distraction of conversation, I could attend to recording the particulars of each important event in the history of Atlantis. I remember that morning so well, the Festival of the Dragon, in the year of the child. It was a time of beginnings and endings. It was the beginning of the supremacy of the sons of Belial. It was the beginning of the great breaking up of the land. It was the beginning of the time of tribulation. It was the beginning of the end of Atlantis. And I'm going to stop there for now, and I'll come back shortly and do more if I can for chapter 2. And holy moly, that was really, forget how much and I haven't read this whole book yet. I only go through it here and there throughout the years I've had it. So crazy. I've been drawn to open up and read it now. But this isn't the beginning of the year of the Sons of Belial for us. This is the beginning of, so much. I don't even know. I'm not putting a name on it. I ain't putting a tag on it. Hi, Bruce. Thank you. I think. Yeah, I carry lots of energy with me. And thank you so much. Yeah, those are a lot of my favorite things there on the screen. So I'm sharing some of my really, really special energy with whomever is also attending. So much love to you too, Bruce. Have such a happy, healthy night, day, New Year's, whatever, if you celebrate it or not. I got a couple of phone calls while I was reading, so I'm going to attend to those, and then I will be back. I'm so happy to see you here again. Thank you for popping back on. I'm going to keep doing more. I hope you're enjoying that. I love this story. All right, my friend. Such peace and love. Talk to you soon. Mwah. One love.